I gotta. There at Selly, we were strafed by a bomber, and I guess they dropped a bomb right there near where we were, and it was like an A-20 or some American aircraft, and so we were cheering, and you know, when they dropped this somewhere, we were cheering this. So, but there weren't many people right there to come out and hammer us. But anyway, we kept going, and it was a day-to-day thing apparently. And on the 9th of April, getting up there, 9th of April, we stayed a day at this farm, and then on the 10th of April, we pushed on, airplanes overhead. And the 11th of April, stayed all. Rumor we were encircled. So we heard guns somewhere in the back from where we'd come from. The 12th of April, frontline German troops came through, and we cooked in the field or whatever we cooked, as I can't remember that we ever had anything to cook particularly, except we did get potatoes out of some fields and barns and stuff. And 13th of April was an important day. We heard .30 caliber fire, and the Germans ordered us out of town about 5 kilometers, and Jerry didn't know where to go and marched us back to the barn. But on this little trip, on the way out to this 5 kilometers or wherever we ended up, we went by this forest, and I and George what the I heard, yeah, we heard this .30 caliber fire, and we knew there were Allied troops coming somewhere back down the road. Guards ordered us out of town about 5 kilometers. This is when passing a dense forest area, I suggested and agreed with George O'Brien that leaving our group and meeting up with our forces as they approached. And George, myself, and someone else moved swiftly into the woods, excited it was that easy to leave the column undetected. As we moved into the woods, we soon approached a meadow-like clearing. As we stepped out into the area, we were startled when we glanced to the right and saw 2 Germans manning a machine gun. It was just like our plans changed immediately because this startled us. We just sort of made a little circle and slowly went back, turned around and returned to the road and joined the column that we left. It hadn't gotten that far. So this was a very short escape period. And so we returned to the column, and within just a few hundred yards maybe, we stopped, and the guards hadn't decided what to do, and so they decided we'd go back to the barn we were in the night before. And so that's where on the 14th we had the guards. I think they gave us their guns more than we took them away from them, because they felt that they were, and most of them, and I can't account for all the guards, but some of them came with us. And some of them took their uniforms off even, so they had some plan. But anyway, we got in the road, and we knew someone would be down the road, and we would be able to see the Americans or somebody. And so we came over this hill, and we could tell someone was down at the bottom of the road, and I think I could see these men standing and with equipment that was off the road at the time. And anyway, when we got there, they showed up with more arms and to confront us before they could find out who we were. But when they did, we were welcomed by the British tank force, and we were given by some of them, candy bars and some goodies like that. In fact, I don't ever remember anything else except that I had some chocolate bars that was really wonderful. Well, I'm going to shorten this because there's so much detail and I can't remember happening at this time of leaving. I know that we were told that the Yanks were in the next village. I think that's the comment by the British. And so either walk, and perhaps I got a ride, and I'm not sure. But I guess maybe I did ride on something. But we got to some place, and I know other stories that I've talked to my associates and fellow prisoners, ex-prisoners, that, and George O'Brien in particular, said that they were searching German soldiers, and that he got something off of one German soldier. But I know that I got a helmet, and it seemed like it was from the warehouse that they were by where they were. It was a brand new helmet, like it had never been issued to a German, and a bayonet, short German bayonet, and its sheath. And that was a relic that I all of a sudden took possession of. And so I guess that's about where I got that. But anyway, we ended up at this airport area. It was an airport where C-47s were bringing in fuel and jerry tanks or cans, and bringing in supplies, taking prisoners out. And so there were a lot of people, and I registered on the 16th, and or on the 15th. That isn't true. Registered on the 15th. And on the 16th flew out of this little airport. I can't name where it is, but we flew to Camp Lucky Strike in Le Havre, and but the flight was a little. Well, I might regress. By the night before, we were here, but nothing to eat. There was a mess kitchen. They didn't have food for a lot of prisoners, and I was able to we searched their garbage area, and they had these big ham bones and potatoes. We got some fresh potatoes some way there, and we made a soup. And I don't know what else we had in the soup, but we had a number 10 can. And here during a night time where we were supposed to be not having any flames or anything, but we were boiling this soup. Well, whatever the soup was, I don't think it was that good, but I guess I had a bit of it. Thought it was good, but I just wanted to mention that because the next day when I got on the plane, I didn't feel so good on my airplane ride, and I think the soup had something to do with it. But what I wanted to do in that airplane ride was to look out the windows and see all this battle marks in the tank, and where all the action had happened, and I was having fun looking out. Pretty soon I got so sick I couldn't look out of the window, and I was just, the tail of that plane was just going like this, back and forth. I don't know if the pilot was doing that on purpose or not. But when we hit ground, I recovered real fast. So I went to Camp Lucky Strike. I was given, changing clothes, new clothes, and during my stay in the prison camp, we used to spend our lunch hours where we didn't have anything to eat. We always took off an hour for lunch, or we took time off for lunch. I forgot to mention that, and talk about food. And so I wrote down all these items of food, and someone would mention something and I'd write it down, or something that I said. I think I got a problem here. But so it was just, when you talked about food, it was just like you're eating food. It had some sort of a calming effect on you. Then, so we flew out, and I'm going to shorten this, but when I'm back in Lucky Strike, I'm back in the American clutches, and in a few days I was put on a ship, but when the first meal we had there, the first big pan of food was liver, beef liver, calf's liver. Well, that was the only food I could that I ever thought of that I didn't like when I was making my list of all these good food. But I said, if I ever get out of here, I'm going to eat liver. That's all there is to it. And so here I got this liver, and I put it on. I took a couple of pieces, and I ate it, and it was great. But I really don't like liver still. But at that time I was so appreciative of that. So anyway, on board ship, the end of the war happened, and I don't think we were much out of the English Channel before the end of the war, which was some special time. So I was liberated. We saw the British on the 14th of April. That was the day we became, were liberated by the British. And then I think I registered something at the airport the next day, and then shipped out on the 16th, and got to Camp Lucky Strike, then got on the ship, went across the ocean, and ended up in Newport News. We're much amazed at the big cafeteria that we went into and to eat at Newport News, at the camp right there. All these German prisoners were dishing the food out, which all the prisoners, they sort of they couldn't believe that they had it so good, the German prisoners, which was true. But to shorten my little story, which was a long story when you talk about it, but I went to camp. I went on furlough. I guess I'm from Fort Sheridan in Chicago. Somehow I had to get there on a train or somewhere. And then I went to Battle Creek, is where I'm from, Michigan, and I had a month's furlough. At that time, during that time, the Provost Marshal called me and said they wanted to have an interview with me at Fort Custer. It was called Camp Custer in those days. And so I met this Provost Marshal. He had pictures of this field where I was captured. And, you know, I have one picture here showing all the bodies on that field with white sheets. And that this is at the museum in Abilene on the wall there. This was taken from that picture. My son took a picture of it. That's where this photograph came from the museum. But you can see the white sheets. I was in between somewhere. I was in here somewhere, in the snow. And this picture and all the pictures I saw were taken at least 2 or 3 weeks later. That field, bodies still all over. But they had 8 by 10 glossies of this whole field. I never thought I'd ever see that field again, you know, from what happened. Anyway, I did, and it was a terrible day. Anyway, my ending of my career, I was sent then to Miami Beach for rehabilitation and redistribution, and I got a job as a lifeguard. They wanted me, and they wanted me to be in the Friday night aquacade. And so that's where I went. And as soon as I got in there, I was made corporal. Now, I was a PFC all the time I was in the infantry there, because I was in advanced engineering in ASDP. That's the way I got to be a PFC. Well, this was my next... I became a corporal, and there's my picture in Miami Beach in my it's in my official trunks, Army trunks, and Army pith helmet.
It's amazing.
And then I was looking at that time. Anyway, this only lasted 5 months, and they broke up the station about that time anyway, and so I went back. And at that time, the War Department circular came out, said all ex-POWs would be discharged, and that's what I was looking for right at that time. And so that's what happened, and I think I did go to Fort Sheridan, is where I got my discharge. And probably says that on it. I didn't ever look. But since that time, I returned to Purdue University, and sorry. I went to Purdue and got my degree in mechanical engineering. Also, I met my wife. I have 2 sons. I graduated from Purdue, and we graduated from Purdue, and I married Mary Fran. I have 1 son that went back to Purdue. Excuse me. He went to Purdue by a scholarship by the Kellogg Company. He had a job with the Kellogg Company, and that was one of the reasons he went to Purdue. And so that, being from Michigan, that was out of state. And my other son, he graduated from Central Michigan. And anyway, at this time I have 5 grandchildren, 2 married, no great-grandchildren yet. 1 on the way. That's it. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, sir. God bless you.